When talking about the blockchain, you'll often hear the network come up. The blockchain is supported by a network, more specifically known as a distributed peer-to-peer network. And in this video, we'll cover what a distributed peer-to-peer network is and compare it to some other types of networks. Now, a peer-to-peer network is a network of computers that allows information to be shared across users. It allows users, known as nodes, to send information directly between one another without the need for a central authority to hold that information. So it's a way to connect users to be able to share information. As an example, think of any chat service, like Skype, WeChat, or Google Hangouts. These are all peer-to-peer networks that allow you to talk with your friends and family. If you're unfamiliar with these apps, you can also think of phones as an example. Phones give peer-to-peer access to anyone else with a phone. And the blockchain is also a peer-to-peer network. This allows us to interact directly with other peers on the blockchain. But the blockchain isn't only peer-to-peer, it's also distributed. A distributed network is similar to the idea of a peer-to-peer network. It's a network that allows information to be spread across many users. So while being peer-to-peer allows open communication across users, being distributed allows that information itself to be owned by those users. To understand a distributed network, it helps to see how it compares with other types of networks. Here, we'll compare centralized, decentralized, and distributed networks. As we talk through these examples, keep in mind that each type of network has its own strengths and use cases. The blockchain isn't distributed because that's simply the best type of network. It's distributed specifically because it's trying to avoid being centralized. It's chosen to avoid the problems it sees with centralizing information in favor of the benefits it sees in a distributed system. In a centralized system, everything connects to a central network owner. This owner can be a person, a company, or a database. If there's only a single source that holds all the information for the system, it's a centralized system. To help picture this, imagine a library that contains all the books in the world. Anytime you want information, you'd have to go to this library to get it. The information in this case is completely centralized. So this can be very effective, and it's an extremely common way to share information. But what if our library were destroyed? Well, in this case, we would lose everything. In a completely centralized system, we wouldn't have any way to recover this information. Another possible issue could be speed. To get a book, you'll need to go all the way to the library, no matter how far away you might live. To help address some of these concerns, other types of networks have been created. One of these is called a decentralized network. In a decentralized network, there's no longer a single point where all this information exists. Instead, this information is spread across multiple locations. So instead of holding all our books in a single library, we have many libraries spread throughout the city. Duplicates of each book could exist in each library. Now, if a library were destroyed, we'd lose some of these resources, and that's definitely really sad, but we don't lose all the information. We still have backups of these books in other locations. Here, we could also have libraries spread out and easier to access. Instead of having to go all the way to a center of a large city, you could have the library down the street or in your local town. A distributed system is a decentralized system pushed to its furthest limits. In a distributed system, everyone gets a copy of the information with the same access and control as anyone else. There is no centralization of the information at all. This gives everyone equal access to whatever information that they need. If we extend our library example just a little bit further, we can use it to describe a distributed system. To help imagine it, pretend our library holds 50 books. This is small enough that you could fit them all in your personal bookshelf. So let's say a whole group of people each get their own 50 books to put onto their personal bookshelves. This will create a network where everyone has quick and easy access to all the information that already exists. This is the idea behind a distributed network. Since we now each have the information, we wouldn't really have much use for the library. But whether it's library books, data, ledgers, or anything else, these core concepts about the way we share information still applies. So that's the idea behind centralized, decentralized, and distributed networks. Now let's go back to the blockchain. Why was all this important? It's important because the blockchain is a distributed network. If a distributed network gives everyone ownership of the information, how do we do this with a blockchain? Here, everyone downloads a copy of the blockchain to their local computer. They interact with this copy of the blockchain and have full access to all the information it contains. This is similar to the library example, with everyone having access and control over their books, so we don't need to go to the library to find them. With everyone having access to the transaction information, we don't need anyone else, like a bank, to track that information for us. This distributed system is one way the blockchain is attempting to bypass the need for external third parties. So that's how the blockchain operates as a distributed peer-to-peer network. It allows everyone to interact freely with one another on the network, and it gives everyone full access to the transaction histories held on the blockchain.